Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So we're going to be continuing our discussion about Dead Like Me. So this is season 1 episode 11, The Bicycle Thief, which this title is a really interesting one because there was no actual theft that happened and there is an actual bicycle theft that happens later on in the series. So this is an interesting choice. This is a nice transition episode. So the main plot is that Georgia is looking at finding something that's a little more livable for her wages. She really wants to get a bike. She's tired of taking public transportation, which, understandable. This guy named Josh, who's in the next cubicle, sets her up with a job, and she gets hired right away. So Dolores throws her a party, and it ends up being this really huge event, and everybody gets a little white girl wasted. It's a little bit messy, but they all have a good time, and George realizes that she means a lot to Dolores, and she means a lot to the company. For the side plots, we have Daisy and her reap, which this is another unfinished business type situation where the guy that she reaps doesn't want to leave. He is a painter. He doesn't like that Daisy took one of his paintings, and he follows her around until she kind of gets the meaning of the painting. His death was a little interesting because he drank some like paint water, which I don't think would actually kill you, but we're not here to discuss the logistics of why people die or how people die on the show, but it was a strange death. And in Mason's plot, he is sent kind of out of the way, and he has to reap these two gay men who one of them dies from slipping and the other one ends up killing himself because he doesn't want to live without his partner. Both of these reaps for Daisy and Mason change them significantly, and that's what makes this episode so important as a transition piece, because Daisy and Mason are very self-centered characters. They only think inwardly. They very rarely think about what their actions are doing towards other people. Case in point in this one, Daisy takes a painting that belonged to this guy and it upsets him. It wasn't her painting to take, and she didn't think about how her actions were gonna affect him. And at one point, Mason steals the watch off of one of the guys that he reaped, and just their decisions that they make are always looking inward. They're never about everybody else. So both of these reaps change them. When Mason is watching the husband who survived, who's trying to decide how he should kill himself, Mason is really struggling because you can tell he wants to stop it. You can tell he wants to do something. You can tell he wants to intervene, but he can't because he knows that's not a part of his job. But he's definitely struggling and he's having a hard time, and emotionally it's eating at him. Daisy is just slowly getting picked away by this guy who's trying to teach her how to be a better person. And in the end of it, and when everything is said and done, Mason ends up deciding that he's gonna be a better person. Whatever happened to him during this reap, it affected him enough that he gave his house keys to Daisy so that Daisy and George can have a bigger space. And presumably he took over their apartment and took over the tiny little one that Georgia was living in. And Daisy ends up acting much sweeter and kinder, and she gives George the bigger room, and she tries to really make sure that she's thinking about Georgia and not just herself. And in the B plot, we have the last family. They have installed a doggy door. JD gets out and they do a big hunt to try to find him. And this scenario ends up driving Joy and Clancy even farther apart. And this is the first episode where we get a discussion that potentially divorce might be in the future. Clancy makes a comment about splitting up to try to find the dog, but Joy misinterprets what he's saying, and she thinks that he's talking about just separating completely. And you can tell that tensions are getting even higher. You can cut them with a knife. It's so tense in the last house, and that is what's going on with them. So we definitely get a sense that things are crumbling very, very quickly. When George gets to her new job the next day, it's terrible. The guy only communicates via email. He will not communicate verbally, and this is something I think that episode 1 or 2 Georgia would have been fine with. I think that her going into an office setting where nobody was talking to her, nobody was interacting with her. She could kind of just do her thing and sit at a desk and not have to have any experiences would have been great for her. But now this new Georgia who is looking forward to experiences, and even when she was walking into the building, she was excited to try something new and something different, and she had no social interaction where at Happy Time, she was constantly interacting with her boss. She was constantly sharing stories with her boss and building this relationship and this rapport. And this is not the same Georgia from just a few episodes ago. This is a very different Georgia. And she ends up walking out and she leaves the job because she can't handle it. She doesn't want to do it. And she decides that she's going to go ask for her old job back. And this is something that we're not going to see happen for a little while. There's going to be several episodes until we actually get to that point. So for right now, Georgia's unemployed, she's making no money, and she's kind of just living life, but she's in a very nice house now. Rube also ends up buying Georgia a new bike, further proving that she didn't need to quit her job. She could have just let the relationships that she already has work for her, so to speak, and that rapport that she's built with her friends, that they'll help her out when she needed help. So she's got a bike now, she's got a mode of transportation, but she's jobless. So we'll see how that ends up working out for her in the long run. This episode to me is not super quotable, but there is one quote that I really like from it, and that's when Georgia goes home and she's kind of getting her bearings, and Daisy has this really sweet moment where Georgia's looking around, she's thinking about where her frog is, and Daisy says, "Don't worry, your frog's here, your frog's home, and so are you, sweetie." And it's such a cute line for Daisy because we've never seen a soft side to her. We always see this hard edge, or this side that presents itself as a front. You know, the I blew this person, I gave a hand job to this person, we had sex with this person. But she never shows her soft interior and who she truly is. So this is a very different side of Daisy that we're seeing, and we'll get glimpses of this Daisy as we continue moving forward with her character. And I really love that line because it shows that she has changed, and that's an important moment for Daisy. So the next episode is one of my favorite episodes. It's called Nighthawks. I'm really excited to talk about that one just because I enjoy it a lot. And yeah, I have nothing else to say about this one. So thank you so much for watching. See you guys the next time. Bye.